Hello and welcome to the Big Match Theory. It's only me and Rohit today, and that's because Abhishek is traveling, and thank God he is traveling because his gloating would have been too much to take for both of us. He would be absolutely unbearable. Just to give you some context, his team Liverpool are at the top of the league after their win against Chelsea, and so Rohit, we can start with the game at Anfield. The final score was 2-1. Mo Salah scored the first goal. Jackson equalized in the second half, and right after Jackson's, Curtis Jones scored a brilliant goal. His Both of his touches were absolutely gorgeous, and I'm getting a bit worried now. I mean, watching them win the 19th was painful enough. At least that time there were no crowds. Now, if they win 20th this time, I don't know. I'll definitely take up another sport, especially in Slot's first season. And
And
what?
especially when we've just decided to start a new podcast this season. And imagine a Liverpool fan of our podcast, and he's going to be gloating, I'm guessing, for the next, I don't know, 10
God,
years
God,
with this title.
God. I mean, he sticks into us even with just one title. Just imagine what happens if they win another one.
I
But what
hope that day
about
doesn't.
this game is what I observed is I think we have talked about this earlier, but now Liverpool know how to control games.
Yeah.
And that's really scary. Of course, they don't control games like Man City does, but they have their own. I'm not sure if we call it a typical style, but they have their game plan and they execute it to perfection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you think about yesterday's game? Were you impressed by Liverpool, or do you think it was just a routine win? They were able to grind it out.
No, you know what? I was actually, in a very weird sort of way, I was actually more impressed by them because they grinded the result out. I don't think it was a vintage Liverpool performance where, you had uh, you had everybody doing the typical Klopp gegenpressing, blood and thunder sort of a game. It wasn't that kind of a game. It wasn't that kind of a performance.
Yeah.
But what it was incredibly effective. And let's not forget, McAllister did not start. Luis Diaz did not start. Darwin Nunes isn't starting, but yeah, those guys hadn't started. They started, as you mentioned, they started with Curtis Jones. They started with Gakpo, who even Liverpool fans have said that he's not at the level of Luis Diaz,
Mm.
and they were able to take a Chelsea team on with those players. Not maybe not the best, most vintage Liverpool performance, but they were still able to control the game. Although Chelsea had more of the ball, although
Yeah.
Chelsea had more touches, more of the possession, but at no point during the game maybe I felt like Liverpool were firmly under the cosh, or
Yeah.
that Liverpool were like really facing it. So you're absolutely right. Was it a vintage performance? No, there were two very good goals, and the rest of the period was just Liverpool managing that game, which I
Yeah.
thought was excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was quite excellent. And what I thought in the first half was Chelsea were pretty good. In fact, Chelsea were good for the most part of the first half. But
Yeah,
they considered a very stupid goal. They shouldn't have done that.
yeah,
And but then they were able to come back right away. And after coming back, as you rightly said, as Liverpool managed the game, Chelsea could not. Their in-game management was not up to the mark. You are winning a point at Anfield. This is a big deal. So instead of going just gungo and all in about it, they could have probably just, I don't know, they could have just tried to control the game, or they held straight back.
no, and my thing was that if you look at the center of the park, right? I mean, it's like one of the oldest sayings in football, right? If whoever wins the midfield battle is going to
Yeah,
go out and win the game. So
yeah,
it's one of the oldest things. So I don't think Romeo Lavia had a good game.
yeah,
I thought Caicedo was strictly okay. I don't think he had a great game. And even Enzo Fernandez, after coming on, did not have a great game.
mm,
So, like, when you compare these guys to Curtis Jones and Ryan Gravenberch,
yeah,
technically speaking, the Lavias and the Enzo
precisely.
Fernandez's and the of the world, on paper, better players than those two, right? But
Yeah,
at no point of time did I feel Gravenberch was being overrun.
yeah,
At no point of time did I feel like Curtis Jones wasn't able to make those runs that he makes. At no point did I feel Sobozalai was, like Caicedo or Lavia had completely clamped him down. So I think the sign, and as going back to what we said at the start, I am more concerned when teams grind out such results than I am if they had even gone out and blown somebody 4-0 off the park.
Yeah,
Because you know that they might do that one or two times, but it's not sustainable.
yeah,
We've seen that happen with Arsenal 2 seasons ago, right? They were blowing teams off the park, but when it started going down, it went down quick. But with this Liverpool side, if again it's a big if, it's their first major challenge, and credit to them, they have come out of it very well. Now they face Arsenal next week. So that's a challenge. If they're able to manage the game,
mm.
if they're able to get out of that game with the way that they have performed, I think that's amazing. I think it will be a great thing for Liverpool to go out and do this.
So I'm just looking at the Liverpool fixtures right now. Uh, so they play Leipzig away next week, followed by Arsenal. Arsenal without Saliba, by the way. Then
Mm.
there are two Brighton games. One is in League Cup and one in the league. Then they have Leverkusen and Villa at home. Then Southampton away, and then Man City at home. So as I mean, if you just take a look at these fixtures, I don't see them dropping points before Man City game. Even again, they're playing Man City at home at Anfield, but still, we know
Yeah.
how good City are. So there is a possibility that they might drop points. But till that point, I don't see them dropping dropping any points because okay, they're also playing Real Madrid before Man City games. So unless until they're hampered by injuries, I think they have a. I mean, it on paper it might look very tough, but they might
But
actually
it's
end up cruising through it.
it's
Yeah, sorry.
very, very possible. And I think, see, going into a run of games like this, the one thing that you need is a good bank of either points taken or a good bank of results, right?
Yeah,
If you had a run of say two or three bad results, and then you go into a tough run of fixtures, you know that it's going to be very, very difficult for you to even mentally bring yourself up to the game. For Liverpool, they're on what, 21 points after 8 games or whatever it
yeah, I
is.
think so. Yeah, they
You
lost to just
couldn't
one
have
game. Yeah,
asked
yeah.
just one game. You couldn't have asked for a better start.
Better
So
start.
even if they go into all of these games, even if they do, they have an off day here and there, even if they drop a couple of points, it's not like the clubs around them are, playing other teams off the park.
Yeah.
It's not like City have been
Sorry.
winded. Arsenal have definitely not been amazing, which we'll get to in some time.
Yeah,
So, there's look, I mean, again, and it's an old saying, right? You can only beat what's in front of you. And Liverpool have done it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they've beaten most of the teams that have come in front of them, and their defense is doing really well. I think Trent is having probably one of his better seasons defensively because I mean, we all know how good he is on the ball,
yeah,
and he's still making some of those inward runs either into the box or playing those balls across. But I think Trent is he's had a decent start to the season defensively as well. It's not. Yeah, we've seen a couple of mistakes from the guy, but less
yeah,
than what we've seen from him usually. So
yeah, yeah.
unfortunately, I'm trying really hard to think of an area, to think of a point where Liverpool are struggling, or but I can't. I genuinely
Mm.
can't think of anything right.
Yeah. So, as I always believe that they are just an injury to Salah away from probably dropping points. Because that guy has been
Oh
so
yeah,
consistent. Yeah, he's so consistent. He's never injured. He's never out. I don't understand what to do with him. Yeah, it's so frustrating watching him.
yeah. I honestly, I don't. His injury-free run somewhere reminds me of Ronaldo's run for those 3 seasons when he won the
Yeah,
title back to back. Right?
yeah,
He was playing week in, week out. He was coming off the bench to help United even in League Cup games, but he was made of steel. He was
yeah,
almost never in.
yeah,
So I think Salah's having that sort of a run. But hey, you know what, Mangesh? Very
yeah,
importantly, I mean, we touched on Chelsea's midfield, but I also want to spend 20 seconds talking about Chelsea's attack,
yeah,
and specifically one gentleman who used to wear red not so
yeah,
long ago.
yeah,
And, and the most frustrating part for me was a lot of United fans over the past few weeks. Just to be like, we're pissed off with Ten Hag or whatever and
Yeah.
all of that. But a lot of them are, oh, look at, oh, Jadon Sancho, look at his assists. Oh, another game with a Sancho assist. Sancho has been shit
He
all
has been
season.
absolute shit. Yeah.
Right? The assists that he's given is basically laying off the ball to Nico Jackson or laying off the ball to somebody who's going to run 30 yards and score a goal. I can do that. Not very good, but I can still do that. For the past two games, if I remember correctly, I think he's been hooked off at the 60-minute mark. He's been hooked off pretty early, somewhere in the second half, and yesterday was hooked off at halftime. The guy had zero successful dribbles yesterday. He had absolutely nothing of note going forward, which is exactly what he was doing for Man United over the past two seasons. He, Chelsea fans, if you are listening, this is a sign of things to come. Please do not go by those assists or whatever it is that this guy was doing. He is not cut out for the Premier League. And he's definitely not cut out for a big club in the Premier League. So I am definitely expecting that guy to drop out of the starting lineup and for the whole world to once again reaffirm what a fraud that guy is.
See, we need to take a look at Sancho's career. He started playing for City under Pep Guardiola. Unless you think, unless Pep thinks the player is not good enough,
Correct.
he's not going to sell him. And
Look at Rico Lewis. Look how good he is.
yeah,
Sancho could very well have been that, but you're right. If you can't cut it under Pep, it shows how fragile you are mentally, right?
yeah. And I mean, look at how highly rated Foden is now,
Correct.
and still,
You know what? Even someone like, see, there have been players who've gone away and done good, like someone like Cole Palmer.
yeah,
Cole Palmer left Chelsea, but he wasn't thrown out by Pep.
exactly,
Pep did not want to sell Cole Palmer.
yeah,
Cole Palmer wanted to leave because he knew that there's going to be. He bought Haaland in, so he couldn't play centrally. There was already so much of competition out of him. So Cole Palmer basically goes out and says, "You know what? I'm good enough to start for any other team in the league. Let me go out and do it." He's gone out. He's done it. I like that guy.
yeah,
I think he's a brilliant player. I like Cole Palmer. Sancho was thrown out.
yeah,
Sancho is basically like, hey, you don't want to do it, piss off, go find your own club. That's what he did. And even when he was at Dortmund, if you remember, Dortmund, there's no expectations of the guy at Dortmund, right? And he was playing with the likes of Haaland. He was playing with some good players around him who sort of helped him turn into a good player. But the moment he comes to a pressure cooker situation, the moment he comes to a club where the expectations are high, the moment he comes to a club where he's got to actually now perform week in week out, he melts.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, hey, don't tell me I told you so, Chelsea fans, but I told you so.
And that's quite evident as soon as Neto comes on, Chelsea start on the front foot. So I don't
Absolutely.
see, and as you rightly said, I don't see Sancho. So it's not like we had any doubt about it, but that's not going to happen. Sancho to Chelsea is going to be, let's call it another flop season.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
I have no doubt. But Chelsea, I think, even having said all that, I think I mean, if I were to talk about something good that's happened with Chelsea, it's also the fact that I think, they're at least trying something different.
yeah,
That they like having nearly 60% of the ball at Anfield isn't easy. It didn't amount to much. I'll give you that. Absolutely. But you know, almost like 57, 58% of the ball. They had like 12 odd shots. They had more touches and more passes than Liverpool at home. I haven't seen a lot of clubs do that
yeah,
away at Anfield. So I think overall, it's not an alarming result. I mean, you lose away at Anfield. I don't think you're concerned in most situations because it is a tough place to go and
yeah,
play. But I think Chelsea, yeah, as you rightly pointed out, Mangesh, I think they tried doing their thing a little too much.
yeah.
The way Maresca likes to play, the whole passing game and all of that. But overall, decent performance. Would you
Yeah,
say
it
that? Would
was.
you agree?
Yeah, yeah, it was a decent performance. So I don't think Chelsea fans would be too disappointed, too gutted. I think they will come good. Once
Yeah.
maybe Maresca trims his squad in half instead of 100 players, when they have 50 players, maybe he'll have better idea about how to go about things. Yeah,
Fair point.
yeah.
Fair.
But